Alright everybody, welcome back to the Chaos Terminal. Today on the channel we're looking at the new and improved Republic Gunship. I got some test flight footage for you, and then also we got our how-to build at the end of the video. In fact, that's most of the video there, so make sure you stick around to the end, like and subscribe for the Republic, and let's get started. Now, this is one of our more complicated builds, so if you are wanting to recreate it pretty one-to-one, you will have to follow along exactly. But for the most part, you can think of these builds as guides to inspire you and help you make your own version. So this is my most up-to-date version of the Republic Gunship, or the low-altitude assault transport infantry class. It's obviously a dropship from Star Wars, a gunship from Star Wars, and it was one of my favorites. It's pretty much anyone that grew up playing Lego Star Wars, this was one of your favorites too. So, just like the real Republic Gunship, it does have two pilot seats up front there. In order to take off, you're going to hit your reverse and forward thrusters, and that'll send you up. You can also do some pretty funky tricks with this. For the most part, we'll fly it forward. And you can see at the bottom right corner which channels are directed where. I really like that it highlights on the screen for you when I hit the channel. This version of the gunship uses hover bricks and activated balloons, so you can glide across the ground like this, or you can fly like you saw in the last clip. It also has 7 guns, 7 cannons, 2 on each wing, 2 up front, and then 1 out the back facing backwards. Now I have that backwards facing cannon on a different channel than all the forward facing ones, so you saw it firing, you saw how that works. There it seems to have gotten caught on that extra bubble turret. You can just remove those or modify them however you want. My favorite modification in the Umbaran arc of the Clone Wars series, those are like searchlights, and I think it would be fun to try to make a searchlight. We got good light pieces in this game. Thing looks when it's flying. It reminds me of all those Clone Wars episodes where you're in a gunship and you look over and you see another gunship and it just bursts into flames. But thankfully you're on the plot armor gunship, so it flies probably a little bit better than I'm flying this one here. I actually got just a little bit of an interest to try to see if I could fly this up to the top of the mountain. Spoiler alert, I do not get it all the way up there, but it is pretty surprising how well this thing is able to fly up without using the new balloons. What are those called? Light balloons, anyway. The ones that let you change how high up off the ground you are. If you haven't decided you're going to build this, you're going to build it because either you like Star Wars, and this is hands down one of the best Star Wars vehicles, or because you need a new fun and fresh vehicle to fly around in Lego Fortnite. This has plenty of room for putting chests. It's got plenty of room for seats. It's got at least 2 extra seats built in with those side pods. It flies fun. It deals a ton of damage with those cannons. And yeah, I think let's go ahead and get started with the how-to. So, like I said, this is one of the more complicated builds you'll find here on this channel. So I wanted to go ahead and just put down pretty much all of the parts you're going to need for each different section. That way you can get familiar with them. You can see where in your build menu they are. In order to build this gunship, you will need the Supernova Academy sets, build pieces. You will need the First Order build kit, and that's it. The rest of it can be made with free parts. So perhaps we'll do a version of the gunship that uses entirely free parts. I don't know how we're going to do that, because some of this does require using that thruster trick to get different angles. Obviously, the gunship has a lot of fun angles to it. So that's most of the parts there. You should see we've got green parts for the front, red parts for those cannons, a lot of white parts from the Supernova Academy for the main body. Let's go ahead and get going. Oh, before that, here's a couple more parts. This is for the side doors. So you also need the Oni Stronghold to make those side doors. You can do it with the First Order pieces if you don't have the Oni Stronghold. Alright, let's get started. Start with a vehicle base, and you just want to extend that far enough off of your car jack that you're able to build to the front of it. So we're going to use these thrusters, one on each side, and that's going to change our plane, the direction at which we're building. Then use this piece. It's the 8x8 modified round corner on one side with white and green, and you're just going to sandwich those two parts together with the round end on the front bottom. Using more of the green pieces, let's fill in this side. We're going to make essentially the side shaping, the housing for those front cannons. So I just alternate the 6s and the 8x until I have about the depth I need. And then we're just going to stack 8, 6, and 4, just like so, to give us that little bit of a slope. It's not a real slope, but, you know, it's the Lego version of one. Now, to finish out this front part, grab the green controllable swivel and place one on each side of your nose, just about a stud in from each available direction. Then we're going to start on our next section. So grab yourself this first order half wall piece and a thruster. Use your thruster centered on your nose section to realign your gray half wall piece with the front like so. It's a lot easier to see it than it is to explain it, but you see how we get that next part in, and it's nice and flat with the top, leaving a two plate section down below to do this. So one more thruster, and then we're going to do a pair of floors, an 8x8 like so. It's hard to see with the waves, but that just goes directly under those half wall pieces, and then this first order floor piece, and raise it up until it turns green. And that's going to become the bottom of your gunship. And then I like to put just a couple more green pieces here to fill out the nose. There you go. And a couple more white floor pieces just to fill out the shaping of this next section. This next section is going to be where we place our forward thrusters, a couple of balloons, and a couple of hover bricks. Or, well, one hover brick anyway. There you go. If you followed along so far, it should look like this. I know we're moving at breakneck speed, but it's a big build, and I want to make sure we're able to get through it. So if you need to pause, or if you have any questions about the build, just let me know in a comment down below. So, this is the fun part. You're going to grab from your Supernova Academy this roof piece. And we're going to place it lined up with the second set of the first order half walls, and then it should bring us forward just to the nose. When you place a thruster on here at the angle, it will allow you to reorient this white 2x16 plate inside of your Supernova pieces at an angle. It's tricky, but it should be nice and possible for you. And easy, but that's definitely not true. Anyway, grab another thruster and adjust it from the center point over and up, and that will allow you to place another green piece here, just like so, and that I think just looks a little bit cleaner than leaving it with the stripe design. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a tricky build, but a lot of this is just detail work. I just added 2 more 2x4 white pieces, and then a couple up top here. As I was building this, I kept looking back over at my Lego, my real Lego version of the Republic Gunship. The Coruscant Guard gunship came out, I want to say in 23, 22, but it's the one with Commander Fox. Either way, people dog on that set. I think it's cool. I modified it, of course. I'll show a picture here. Back to the build. We are placing our driver and our co-pilot seat on that 2x16 that we placed at an angle. And we should leave just enough room between the two of them to put one more 2x4 piece. It's looking pretty good. And that's going to give the illusion, the screen. Obviously, in the real gunship, there would be a windscreen there. There is not in this version. So we can remove these extra thrusters, and then that'll allow us to place cannons on the front. So I just use this one. Bam. And bam. There we go. That's our first section. That's the nose, the cockpit, and then whatever we're calling that gray area behind the nose. So inside here, grab your large classic thruster and center it along with a regular classic thruster. And we're going to just adjust those to purple, to forward. All classics, and we're going to adjust it down underneath that 2x16 plate until it hits, until it turns green or red, you know. And then those guys we're also going to adjust to forward. That way, whenever you move forward, it will move up just a little bit from the nose. It's pretty clever. It does get out of hand sometimes, as you saw in my flying earlier. But yeah, if you followed along so far, it should look like this. Orient one of your swivels to be opposite the other. That way your guns move at the same time. And let's go ahead and get started on the next section. Now for the next part, we're going to grab the Supernova Academy angled wall piece, just like so, roof piece, whatever this one is, and just add another one. I snap pointed and then adjusted up until it was the height I wanted. And it should just line it up with the first two. It should be good. Should look like this. And then you should also be able to grab one more of the 2x16 plate and just click it in right like so. And then I went ahead and put one more on top. There we go. That way we got the right shape. Then for the troop carrier section, grab another thruster and another 2x16 plate. And we're going to place them just like so. The thrusters overhang on the top a bit to make room for the plate. Then we can remove the thrusters. The plate will stay in place. And we can place one more down so that we are at the correct height for that interior troop carrier. And then make sure your other side matches the same. Then we're going to work on the floor. So grab the 8x8 first order piece that has that like modification in the middle. We're going to place two. And then we're also going to grab the 8x8 white piece from Supernova Academy and place two. And then the 2x16 plates. We use a lot of that 2x16, heads up. There you go. We got your interior troop carrier. Everything but the back part is now done. And then we need to make the wings on top. So in order to make the little detailing here, all I did was adjusted the first order angled floor piece over from the nose until it turned green there above that second area. I don't know what to call that. It's the part underneath the cockpit, part underneath the gunner seat. We're calling it the gray section. So on to the back. So we're going to use this as a dummy piece. This is from Supernova Academy. It's got this very, very funky angled wall piece at the bottom. We're going to take advantage of that to make our loading ramp look like it's partially open, like for troops to come out. So we're going to use our old trick, the thruster at an angle, and then the 2x16 plate, you're going to adjust it up until it turns green, and then place a second one. Alright, I had actually placed that piece wrong, so we're going to redo this part. Just break that, and we're going to move it over to give yourself 4 studs worth of space in between those. And then I want you to grab your thruster, and I want you to adjust it on this piece all the way down to those first order parts that we've already placed. Now, when we adjust our floor piece, bam, it'll turn green, and it'll be attached to that first order part. And there we go. Now you've got your boarding ramp started, so you can remove your dummy pieces. You can remove that extra thruster. And we can start placing our parts. So what I did is I turned that 4 back into a 2 because I'm an actual crazy person. And then I'm just adding a couple of parts in here. This is more about just whatever shaping you're going for. So you can see I experimented a little bit. Ended up going with the 6 and the 4 to make it 10 long. With the 16 in the middle. Removed that 16 and now we have a 10 long, I guess boarding ramp. Yeah, back ramp. There's got to be a better name than back ramp for this thing. I think it's just called the back ramp now. So now that you got your back ramp started, back ramp. Now that you have your back ramp started, go ahead and re-grab from your first order parts this angled floor piece and adjust it down one stud like so. One stud from the back. And same on the opposite side. Bam. Now, one thing you might notice while you're doing this is that your parts don't line up exactly how you want them to. Not just like how I did it there, where I physically put it in the wrong spot. You'll see what I mean. Sometimes it just doesn't line up right. That's the best we got. This game is good, but it's not perfect. Alright, on to the wings. So grab this piece again. Adjust it like so. You want the height of your current piece to be the same height as the ones you had placed before. And we're just going to place 2 down like that. And that's going to start the angle of our wings. The wings are going to be angled down at basically the same angle as the driver's seat is. Should look like so. It should be just above that back ramp we made. So add a pair of thrusters on top. Just like so. Right up all the way at the edge. And then start doing your 2x16s. And remember, you adjust them over until they turn green. And then you adjust it down until you can't adjust it any further. That will lock it in place on 2 faces and make it extra sturdy. So all the way down, there you go, just like so. And then from there, you can use snap points to build the rest of your wing out. So you don't need these thrusters anymore. We'll just build the rest of our wing. There we go. And you do want this wing to extend down quite a bit. And it should be about 8 studs wide, not counting the angled part at the back. But again, it's your gunship. Build it how you want to build it. I know that there's like an Imperial version of this that's pretty popular in the fandom. The gray might be nice for that, although you might want to find something besides white. Now the white just looks really good for Republic vehicles. On that note, if you've watched this far into the video, I just want to say thank you, and I want to make sure that you subscribe, because this is part of a series. This is part of a project I'm working on. In real life, I'm trying to build as many vehicles from the Grand Army of the Republic out of Lego that I can. If I'm lucky, I'm going to build all of them. I'm going to build one of each, and I'm also trying to do it here in Lego Fortnite. So this gunship is my first entry in the Lego Fortnite builds. And then I built a Republic fighter tank. I got the link here for you. And that's my first build in the real life Lego. So we're building 2 armies of the Republic, and we're starting here. So yes, thank you so much for watching. It really, really means a lot to me. Back to it. We're going to place a couple guns. We got way at the end of our wings, and I just sort of put it like 1 or 2 plates in. 1 or 2 studs in. And then you can use the thruster to place another set of cannons like so. Just, adjust them and then snap until it turns green. I, of course, decided to place this one like 800 times because I can never get it to line up right. There we go. Still wrong. Either way, we'll skip some of this part. Now you should have 2 facing forward on each wing and 2 rotatable ones on the very front, right on the nose. Should look something like this. We still have a little bit of shaping left. Oops, don't do that. Don't do that. We have a little bit of shaping left in the back. So grab a 2x8, and we're going to line it up just like so. Just trying to match how far back the tail. We'll call this part the tail. How far back the tail goes. So we're going to bring it out to about there. Just like so, a couple more 2x8s. And then, I think I actually decided to go with 2x6s right here. But for now, you can see how we're just filling this shape in more. There we go. And yeah, I do go with 2x6s. So when you're building this, build it with the 2x6s, just like here. Alright, once you have those parts placed, go ahead and break your thruster, and we're going to put 2 4x4 vehicle bases underneath on the inside of our gunship. With 1 thruster, we're going to be able to flip this cannon upside down to face backwards. And we can break our dummy bricks, just like that. And now you have your rear-facing gun, so make sure you switch that to a different channel than you have your forward-facing guns on. And here you can see I decided to go with the 2x6s like I thought I was going to. So if you put 2x8s there, switch them. 2x6 just looks a lot cleaner. And essentially, we're just going to fill this shape in a little bit. Our goal is to make it like a 45-degree angle, but obviously we're plate building it, so you get what you get. There we go. Next morning, if Epic wants to help the creators out at all, go ahead and let us change the day and weather. For real, it's awful having to wait for morning, having to wait for good weather in order to film. Makes me struggle sometimes. Anyway, back to the build. We got this so far on our gunship. Let's just fill out this last little bit of shaping. So there's always a couple ways you can do it, but I'm going the easy route here with just a couple of plates. There we go, that looks alright. Now we're obviously missing a couple of key features on our gunship. Are these torpedo launchers? They're thrusters in our case, but I feel like they serve a different purpose in canon. You're going to just grab this red vehicle piece that came in the Mandalorian and Grogu event, I guess. You had to do the quests for it. That fits in real nice right there. You want to just get it as close to that center part of the ship as you can. We're just going to extend each side of this out a couple on both sides to give our cannons, and then on the back side you'll have to just adjust back by 2. There we go. There we go. Looks pretty good. We'll need to add a couple of thrusters, so I went ahead and grabbed this one for the front too, because it looks like it's the missile launchers. And then for the back two, because we want it to actually function, we're going to grab our other style, just a more classic thruster. You could try a larger one if you want. That's what it looks like. It's alright. It's not my favorite look. I go with these ones. There we go. Coming together. Alright, those ones to forward. These ones to back, and you want to change it so that it also steers you left and right. That's really useful when it comes to turning and also backing up. In order to make sure that we turn right, we are going to go ahead and add these pieces back here. I'm not sure if you deleted them or not at the start, but this is where they go. And then next to that piece, we're going to start adding one more row of plates so that we can fit some thrusters in right behind the cannons. These will be your turning thrusters. So you'll want to adjust those accordingly as well with your wrench for left and right. And make sure that you have your central backing up cannons, the turning thrusters, opposite the wing that it's supposed to match to. So the left wing ties to the right torpedo launcher, and the left torpedo launcher ties to the right wing. A couple of plates down to fill in that gap. And there we go. And make sure we give everything a test. You see what I mean by the opposite thrusters? That'll help you turn in place a lot better, a lot tighter of a turn. Completely optional one. This is for making the bubble turrets, and I went really simple with the bubble turrets because I wanted you to be able to fit a player into each one. But what I did was I grabbed just the curved railing piece from the Lockheed's Lighthouse set, and I just set it right back here and adjusted it over like so. And then the same on the opposite side. And then from there, we're just going to use a couple of plates and the thruster trick to rotate those plates up onto their face. I mentioned it before, but you could also customize this section entirely. You could have the doors come forward to cover this part. You could have it just left blank, You could put those searchlights on, like I mentioned before. Really, it's completely up to you how you want to run your gunship. For our bubble turrets, though, we'll just do two by. That'll leave room for a set of chairs. And then we'll just grab our thruster. You know what to do with this. So the easiest way to get this thruster on there, I'm just using another dummy brick. This vehicle-based 4x4. Placing the thruster there allows you to get the plate completely flush with the bottom edge of where you want it. There you go. And same on the opposite side. And then I made the mistake of breaking the whole dummy brick, but you're going to want to just leave it there for a second, because in order to get the plate to line up correctly on the opposite side, or on the further away sides, you're going to just need that dummy brick again. So we'll have to place that one back, because if you try to do it like so, and match it off of the plate, then they're not going to line up. You'll see here, I'll show you. You always want to line everything up to your dummy brick. Otherwise, it'll get offset. So yeah, replace that. And pair of those. And you could do it on the inside panel if you want. I only did the two. I left it open backed. And then I didn't have on the sides, on the insides. But it's up to you if you wanted to add more. There we go. That's what it looks like so far. So, this comes the tricky part on side walls. They're like windowed walls. And apparently we're also placing a couple of balloons. My ADHD is pretty bad sometimes. There we go. Those two balloons there are fine. Depending on how you've built this and what modifications you've done, you're going to want to play around with where you place your balloons. You'll want to play around with where you place your activated balloons and your hover bricks too. I just wanted to make sure I had my bases covered, so I checked my cannons, make sure that they were synced up correctly. We've got a thruster. You can see we placed it just a minute ago onto that first order piece. That's going to be integral in a second. I just was building completely out of order. A couple of optional pieces there just to make some extra bulk. There we go. So you definitely don't need all of these balloons. You'll see those back two I just placed, and I placed two more on the back side here. Not necessary. So those ones in front, those are fine. These back two, I end up breaking them because the gunship goes flying. It goes flying away. So just those front two, and then the ones on the inside. And I really was just sort of going wild with balloons. You don't need to. Just mess around, right? Make sure it's well balanced. Couple in the front. Sometimes this is easier after you've taken it off of the car jack. But for the most part, I like to get as many placed as I can and then remove some until it's balanced, just because that's easier. But let us officially get started on these doors. So, do you see where the thruster is at the very top of that first order half wall piece we placed before? You're going to adjust your 2x8 plate over and then down until it turns green. It'll snap against the side of those wall pieces we placed earlier. So down, over, where you want it. You can see it's green. And now you have the base for where your door is going to be built, these side doors. So build them however you want, but here's how I did it. I just took the 2x8 plates and I would adjust them over one stud in order to give that window look. So we'll go, I double stacked them. Up to you how you want to do it. And then I just grabbed the 2x6 and adjusted it down and over, and that's how we're going to make those windows. And I made too many, but we'll always remove them. You just need 1, 2. I did that wrong. 2, 3. Don't do the fourth one. Just the first 3. Because in that last spot, we are going to have to put the... Is it the Oni one that we end up going with? It's either the Oni or the First Order. But either way, we're going to break that last fourth one. Just have the 3 bars. 3 bars placed. Like that. There we go. And there we go. So yes, we did go with the Oni. The Oni Stronghold angled floor pieces for the back. So if you don't have the Oni Stronghold, use the First Order pieces. If you don't have either, do your best. There we go. So you should have a gunship that's starting to look like this. Thruster. Use our classic snot building to adjust that piece over like so. Just a 2x8, that'll fill in the side part of our doors at just a little bit of an angle there. Nailed it. And then you can also remove those extra thrusters that you were using to originally guide the angle of your door. That's why you needed those first order parts, really, is to get the angle of the door correct. Alright, let's do one more test. No ammo, of course. Got our thrusters work in the directions they're supposed to. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error to get the balloons right. But I'll show you essentially what I did was I overloaded it with balloons like I was saying before, and then we just take it right off the car jack and we let it float up in the air, and then we start adjusting, removing balloons and replacing them until it floats at the height and angle that we want it to. It's pretty cool. So let's do it. Let's take it off the car jack. There it goes. Bye-bye. Have a good time. Woo. Alright. And punch it. Bam, bam. Always be careful breaking balloons while it's falling so that the game doesn't register that you did a jump attack, because that would be awful. It's slowing down. We still have to remove those back ones I was pointing out that are placed horizontally underneath the wings. And then that piece I broke was that original dummy brick. That original vehicle base we just placed onto the car jack. Yeah, I guess that one balloon was holding it up. Very careful when you break them. And then to get it out of the water, all I'm going to do is just add a large balloon to lift it up. But here we go. This is the final version. No, it's not. This is almost the final version. I had to still put this activated balloon back here. This will allow it to land and then raise back up. And then I need to remove those two on the front. They are unsightly. They do not add to it. Not necessary. Yeah, it's a lot of freaking fun to fly. Let me remove those balloons because that's unsightly. When you go forward, it goes up just a little bit. When you go backwards, it also goes up just a little bit. What's nice about that is you can use both to basically lift straight up off the ground. So let's place one more thruster under here. That'll help give us a little bit of boost, and you're going to want to make that one adjusted to the forward. That way you still get a little bit of upwards movement. And we've removed those two activated balloons by the driver's seat. We don't need that. And just remember, this thing drives however it likes to, so practice makes perfect, and be prepared to fix that nose quite a bit, as the nose will break. Honestly, the build might be a little bit more aesthetic than it is functional, but it's still a lot of fun, and it's definitely a good challenge for you if you haven't done any of these more tricky build techniques yet. Pretty much all I've got for you today for this gunship video. It's the first in a long series that we're working on, building every vehicle in the Grand Army of the Republic in LEGO and LEGO Fortnite. If you are working on this build and you're struggling at all, leave me a comment down below. I try to respond to every single comment. If you have not subscribed to the Chaos Terminal, please do so. We are posting lots of new videos, and we are live every single week. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing today, and I cannot wait to see the gunships that everyone builds for the Republic. Have a good one. Bye.